All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Thoughts of the Week podcast. And we have a guest. I'm going to bring her in real quick. There we go.
Hello.
Can you hear me? I guess you can hear me pretty good.
How are you?
All right, there you go. All right, cool. All right, how you doing?
I'm good.
All right. Good. Pronounce your first name for me.
It's Cachet, so just think cash and throw an A at the end.
I got you. All right, cool. All right, everybody. Let's get started. You're rocking with the best. Thoughts of the week. Let's get it.
Do you know what you're listening to? You're listening to Thoughts of the Week.
Oh, how's that?
All right. Yes, indeed. You're rocking with the best thoughts of the week. And we have Cachet Prescott. And our other guest couldn't make it today, Cassandra. So we're going to probably have to reschedule with her. And, we get back with her in another time. So with that being said, I have a lot of questions. We probably won't get to all of them. I just write down questions from week to week. So I just add on to stuff I had from previous interviews. And I just kind of randomly go through the questions. So the first question I have for you is, what is your greatest fear as an entrepreneur?
Oh, so you hit them with the deep stuff. I think for me personally, it's probably just not being able to do the work that I know I have been put on this earth to do.
Okay.
There's so many things that get in the way. There's so many potential roadblocks. Oftentimes it's usually myself that's the roadblock, but I think that's definitely the greatest fear, that I won't get out there and do that work.
Okay. I got you. What it is, tell everybody what it is that you do, and give some contact information.
All right. So I'm a mindset, business mindset and accountability coach. So I help people basically get their mind right around stuff related to business, career, life. As I just said, people oftentimes know what they need to do. It's not a matter of not knowing. It's not a matter of not having the skills or the ability. Oftentimes it's their mindset that gets in the way of them actually moving from where they are to where they want to be. So I help them in the process of either thinking things through or getting clarity or putting a plan in place. And once they have that plan in place, stop talking about it and being about it.
Right.
And so you can find me at cachetprescott.com or at Cachet Prescott in all social media. And I also have a podcast called All Things Unlearned that just launched yesterday. And it focuses on this whole concept of unlearning as a means of learning and personal growth. And we talk mindset stuff. So.
Gotcha. Cool. Let me just put this up here real quick.
All right.
And what was the name of your podcast again?
All Things Unlearned.
All Things Unlearned. All right. Cool. Where can they find you on their podcast? Anchor.
So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and some other podcast platforms as well. But those are the three main ones.
Okay, gotcha. All right, cool. There you go. Put that across the screen. No problem. All right. Let me see here. What got you into entrepreneurship?
So I'm a military spouse, and I've been one for almost 14 years at this point. And I never thought I would become a business owner, to be perfectly honest. I'm one of those accidental entrepreneurs. But over the years, as we have continuously moved every 2 to 3 years, it felt like I could never find a great career opportunity. When I met my husband, I was in a PhD program, and I ended up not finishing to the PhD. I got the master's and didn't do the PhD it wasn't a good fit for me at the time.
Gotcha.
So then when we moved to our first base, which was in middle of nowhere, Montana.
Okay.
And I'm not knocking Montana, beautiful place. Just weren't a lot of opportunities there. So just to get out the house, I was working at Barnes & Noble just so I could get out the house. And I love the bookstore. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't go to school to do that. So I swear it seemed like just a series of unfortunate events. If I would get a job, the office would close or the position would be eliminated or you would get laid off. I felt like I was the closer. Like I felt like I had this bad juju on me. And so I got sick and tired of being sick and tired and decided to kind of explore trying to create my own ideal career opportunity. And so I stepped into entrepreneurship back in 2011 and I started off as a virtual assistant. Then it's just kind of morphed into something different over the past almost 9 years at this point. So,
okay, cool. In regards to that, how has your relationship been affected, if at all, regarding you being an entrepreneur?
Ooh, you hit the deep question because a lot of people don't think about this before they go into entrepreneurship. They don't realize that it's two separate people. You that has this kind of entrepreneurial mindset and your spouse that probably does not have that same mindset. They're probably not thinking the same way that you're thinking. So whereas you're willing to take these risks and, be adventurous with all the stuff you're doing, your significant other may not be on that same page. And to be perfectly honest, it did cause problems in my marriage. Unbeknownst to me that's what it was doing, but it absolutely caused problems in my marriage because we weren't on the same page. Right. And if I could give any advice to anybody out there, really and truly, you really need to have a real conversation. If you're going into entrepreneurship or even in the thick of entrepreneurship, have a real conversation about this with your significant other, your husband, wife, whoever it is, and what this entails. And oftentimes we don't even know what it's going to entail. We don't know how much time it's going to take. We don't know the commitment that it's going to require. And I just didn't know any of these things. I have my husband, I have our 3 kids and our household that needs to be taken care of and trying to grow this business. And it's a lot. And if you're not communicating, there's too much room for things to fall between the cracks between you and your significant other. So,
I agree. Most definitely. You mentioned working at Barnes & Noble. Do you read a lot of books?
I am an avid reader. I would love to read more, but I just don't have the time, but I love to read.
I got you. In regards to entrepreneur books or business books. Okay. Can you name some books you read?
So one book that I like to tell people about is The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz. I think it's such a helpful book because when we get into entrepreneurship, we tend to be ideas people. We have all these ideas and all the things we want to do, or we start working on our products or our services, and then we let our customers talk us into doing more things and trying to expand our what we're offering. And sometimes it can get overwhelming. Sometimes we can lose focus of the one thing. But with the Pumpkin Plan, they liken the whole idea of growing a business to growing those prize-winning pumpkins that you might see at a state fair or something, those ginormous pumpkins that you see. And basically, they talk about what it takes to grow one of those pumpkins. And what it really takes is for you to be ruthless and relentless about cutting off anything that does not serve to the growth of the pumpkin. And that's the same thing you got to do in your business. And so that's one I really love to tell people about. Another one is called, oh goodness, I can't think of what it is. Oh, it's by Gift Constable. And it's I can't think of the name of the book, but basically the author's name is Gift Constable. It's a very thin book. Talking to Humans, that's what it's called.
Talking to Humans?
Yes, Talking to Humans by Gift Constable. Very thin book. I think it's less than 100 pages. My child, when she was 11 years old, she read it. But basically, it's about the customer customer interview process. So if you have a business idea and you want to kind of get some validation, it's about the process of creating the interview questions and the things you need to consider when you're asking them about it, so you can get feedback from them about it. I think the book itself is like $12. They have a PDF version of it. I think that's free if you go to talkingtohumans.com. And then they also have the Kindle version is usually 99 cents. So it's really cheap, really quick read, but very helpful when you need to go talk to people and ask them about, their pain points and why they, have them talk to you instead of you ask them yes or no questions. You let them do most of the talking while you do most of the listening. So you can validate your product or service, or you can pivot and change and shift as needed based on the information they provide. So that's a very helpful book too.
Cool. Do you have a plan or strategize for any potential problems that might come up in your business at all? Do you kind of think ahead? This could happen, that could happen, or do you just kind of let things go and then wait for it to happen?
I think I do more of that now.
Okay.
than I once did, because again, I had no clue when I first got into business. And most of us have no clue what the potential pitfalls might be.
Right.
But also, as I have grown my business, I used to work as the director of a small business development center. So I would help entrepreneurs with their stuff. And I was also a director of small business business development for a chamber. So I would help people with their stuff. So as I was working with them and seeing their pitfalls, it helped me to kind of keep note of the same things for myself.
Yeah. Okay.
So now I try, because again, you can't always plan for everything, but I try to keep in mind the possible risks that might be involved in anything that I'm doing.
Gotcha. How important is time management in regards to entrepreneurship?
It is extremely important, especially because I am a mompreneur. I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
I'm married, and I have to make the business fit into my life as opposed to my life fitting into the business. Mm-hmm. And now that we're in the thick of COVID-19, my kids are home, and they finished school last week. So they're home. I'm not on summer break though. Gotcha. So trying to balance all those moving pieces, it is so key. I live by my Google Calendar.
I was going to ask you that, like what tool you actually use to manage
Google Calendar and a to-do list. So I use, I like to write it down, but I also put it on the Google's list. They have a list feature as well. So I put all the stuff in there so I could just check it off. I have to have it. And then I also have Calendly that I use for online scheduling for any appointments I might have. I have to, because if it's not written down, it is not getting done.
Yeah, I agree with you. Most definitely. Have you, as in regards to time management, have you tried different things before you got settled with a certain way of doing things?
Absolutely. I tried all these tools because, people have a lot of great suggestions, but you have to be very clear about what works for you.
Yeah, that's true.
And what might work for somebody else. I've used a ton of just different software, but I found that, again, Google Calendar works best for me. It's accessible anywhere on my phone. I don't have to worry about it. And then, like I said, with the to-do list, I can just mark it off. I tried using some like project management software, and sometimes I do utilize those if it's a bigger thing. So I typically use Asana or Trello. I like them both. If I'm doing an actual project that I'm working on and keeping up with that and trying to keep up with the various pieces throughout whatever that project is. That's helpful to me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I normally I did the same like you. I tried a lot of stuff. I would write down stuff, and then I got to the point where I was thinking, man, but I got the phone with me, and I'm everywhere I go. I got the phone.
Exactly.
Find a way to use that. You say you use the list. The way I did mine or do mine now is the event part, the all day part. I would use that for to-dos, and anything that I got to put time on, anything for the time thing, I put in actual time. So I kind of do that.
And so it sounds like you do some kind of a form of blocking.
Yeah, I do blocking where I put some things on the time, but I use the all day event is like each to do.
Got
so
it.
Some of those things that I don't actually put a time to.
Got it.
I just put that in the all event and make it like it's an actual to do.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So actually I have everything on one
and
device.
That's the thing. That's key. Because if you have all these other moving pieces and you have to go to this app for this or that app for that, it's a problem.
Yeah, it gets hectic. Definitely gets hectic. Name me two. I know it's a lot of them because I say myself there's a lot of different traits, but name me two traits that probably come to your head right now that an entrepreneur should have.
Commitment.
Okay.
This thing is hard. You got to be committed. This thing can be hard. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time that, just because you have an idea doesn't mean you should go into business. It's not meant for everybody because there's going to be a lot of times where you may be questioning, is this what I really want to do? Because it gets hard. There might not be the people that are readily buying your product or service or following you on social media or buying into whatever it is that you're talking about. And it could be tough. You might start to beat yourself up, especially if you get on social media and you start comparing yourself to everybody else and their highlight reel and what they have going on. So being committed is a must if you want to be successful. And also being, I guess, persevering, because you can be committed for a while. But you also have to be able to persevere once, in that commitment. Again, for the same reasons, because it's not an easy course. There's so many people out there doing a lot of the same things. You have to really kind of figure out what makes you so different. What's your unique selling proposition? What value do you bring that somebody else might not bring? And why should somebody choose you and your services over the thousands of people that might be doing exactly what you're doing?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. During the pandemic, how long you been into entrepreneurship? The business you're doing now?
Since 2011, so almost 9 years.
2011, okay. During this pandemic, how have you been able to sustain your income for your entrepreneurship?
So I got busier
okay.
Pandemic, and which is good, but it felt like everything was happening. As soon as this pandemic happened, I swear, the moment they said the schools were going to shut down, I got this virtual strategic planning project that I'm working on with a client. I started teaching intro to psych online for a university, and I was launching this podcast. So it was just so much going on, which I'm grateful for. But it's a lot, and still trying to also, when my kids were doing online school, trying to manage their stuff and play tech support to them. And so it was a lot.
I hear you. There was it's a Facebook friend of mine. I don't know the guy personally, but somebody I friended on Facebook recently put out a video. He was talking about some other issues, and he kind of infused in there some business. And he said that business is warfare. Do you agree with that, or you disagree?
It can be at times. Okay. I definitely think it can be at times. Again, there are going to be some moments where it's just like, this, I love this. This is the greatest thing. I think it's mental warfare, really.
Really. No doubt.
Because you will have those days where things are going amazingly well. It feels like everybody gets what you're talking about, and people, your ideal clients are popping out of the woodworks, and everything's going your way. And then they flip of a switch where things are not going so well. It's crickets. You don't hear from anybody. Nobody's clicking on your website. And so trying to mentally deal with that on a regular basis is tough.
Yeah. I hear you. What's your favorite part of being an entrepreneur?
I think I like the flexibility, for one, because I get to do things my way and on my own terms, and make it fit in my life. as I mentioned, I'm a mother. So when my kids have things going on, I don't have to ask somebody else like, hey, can I take the time off to do this or do that? And even when I did have jobs, I had pretty flexible supervisors. So it wasn't a big deal, but I hated having to ask on a regular basis because, I have 3 kids and they all have stuff going on. So I can schedule things around them and do things as I see fit, take off the time that I need to take when I need to take it off. So I really do like that about entrepreneurship. And I love the innovation and creativity part of it. I love being able to come up with something new and do something fun or in a different or an innovative way.
Yeah. Okay. All right. In regards to entrepreneurship, what does success look like for you?
For me, is when I am able to help my clients have those aha moments, whether I'm working with an entrepreneur or a leader, on an individual basis, and helping them get some clarity on what it is that they want to do, or helping them work through some like an actual plan to make something happen. Or if I'm working with an organization or teaching a workshop or something, the people in the classes, they're like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. I love seeing those light bulb moments for people. So
yeah. What's a typical day as an entrepreneur? What does that look like?
I feel like I don't have a typical day. It's always something different. But when once I get up and get to go, and I'm sitting in front of that computer, just checking email to just kind of get a feel for what's going on, make sure I haven't missed anything. But I try to, like you, schedule out my day, block my day. I try to use the Pomodoro method to set 45 or 50-minute sprints to do something and specifically focus on that thing. Because if I don't do that, I'll sit there for hours and hours and hours and hours. And although I get stuff done, I don't know if it's as productive as if I, do it for 50 minutes, take a quick break and come back to it. So I try to use the Pomodoro method to just do that throughout the day, focus on what I need to get done for that specific day. I usually try to do like a nightly brain dump. So the night before, I would have already kind of figured out what the next day looks like. Yeah. Otherwise, I don't want to come in feeling like I got to figure that stuff out. I want to be able to just go and hit the ground running.
Yeah. If social media disappeared or discontinued today, how would you be able to continue your business or continue to promote your business?
I think I would continue, having conversations with people like you. I would, but also utilizing your network, having these conversations, talking to like-minded individuals. Whether it's physically going out and networking, like when we can do that again, physically going out and building relationships. Or if it is doing virtual networking, because I know a lot of people are trying to take advantage of that now, but also share my expertise, finding platforms to do that. So doing my own webinars or going and facilitating webinars on somebody else's platform, but letting people know I exist, because people can't come to you or buy your services if they don't know that you exist. And you also got to build that know, like, and trust factor. So just building that relationship, using whatever platforms are available to do that.
Gotcha. Is it possible to start a business without having business knowledge?
I think it's possible, but I would, you don't necessarily, and it doesn't have to be you go to school and get a degree in business. It doesn't have to be you go to school and get an MBA. But you do need to know some things about business. And the great thing about it is that there's so many resources for you to get that information on the internet and sharpen up your skills. There's so many free resources for you to go and connect with, local business consultants that can kind of help you and guide you and give you some direction. You could go to your chamber of commerce. You can go to your small business development center. You can go to your veterans business outreach center. You can go to your women's business center and get free one-on-one business counseling before you jump in. So there's resources, or you can use Skillshare. or LinkedIn Learning or whatever you feel is the best option for you. There's ways to get that knowledge, but I would suggest getting that knowledge though.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Where do you see your business in 3 years?
I am hoping for this business that people kind of see me as the go-to person for all things related to thinking. I'm in the business of thinking and helping people make space for thinking, planning, focusing so they can do the things that they want to do in life. I'm hoping to have more opportunities to go, again, once we're in a place and space where we can't, to offer classes and workshops. And I would love to be able to do a conference. Okay. We'll see. But I just want, again, people to work through the stuff that they need to work through so that they can be out there creating the stuff that they're supposed to do. So. Gotcha.
Business plans, is it underrated or overrated?
Oh. So I know a lot of people feel a way about business plans. I know a lot of people think that they're a waste of time. I think that they are not a waste of time. Now, you don't have to create a drawn out business plan of like 50 pages. You don't have to do that. Right. But I think creating a mini business plan is helpful because it forces you to ask yourself the hard questions and actually answer those questions before you go jumping into stuff. And so I think it really helps you to really think about all the moving pieces in this business idea you have in your head, and what it's actually going to look like. But also, if you, I think a business plan helps, but also if you use the lean business model where they have the one pager that you can do, that's helpful too. I think they're both helpful pieces of information. That one pager focuses on your business model because you need to figure out what your business model is going to be. Is it going to be, are you going to be in retail? Are you using a freemium model? Are you using a subscription model? You need to know all these details before you jump in. But you also need the business plan to kind of outline the details of that. So, what are your operations going to be? What type of business entity are you going to choose? Is it going to be a sole proprietorship or an LLC or a C Corp, S Corp, all those things. You also need to talk about, who's going to be on your team, who is your go-to team to help you out with things, your bail team, as they call it. So your banker, your accountant, lawyer, accountant, insurance company, and your lawyer. Lawyer comes in there somewhere, but I can't remember. But all those things, you need to figure out what your resources are when it comes to your team. But there's so many things to think about marketing wise, who is your ideal client? What does that look like? Do you have more than one ideal client? How are you going to reach out to them? All these details. And so that's why I think business plans are helpful, but you have to also figure out if you're going for funding in some way, shape, or form, you got to have a business plan. You don't have a choice. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you don't have a choice. Yeah, right. They're not going to give you money if they don't see your plan and see the viability of your plan. But if it's just for you, I think it's a great way to keep you on track, to help you stay focused on your goals. And if you have team members, for you all to be on the same page about what this business is, what its mission is, and how you move as an organization.
All right. Kind of speaking on that, about the funding, do you, how would I ask you, are you cool with going a non-traditional route? For instance, instead of actual bank getting money, would you consider doing like the Indiegogos or the Kickstarters or the GoFundMe routes to fund your business?
I don't see any problem with it. For my particular business, thus far, it hasn't really been an option, but I see where there are some business models where it does absolutely make sense for people to go that route. I'm like, hey, utilize your resources, whatever they might be. Because the issue with a lot of businesses, a lot of small businesses, sometimes the banks don't want to necessarily fund the really smaller projects. It just depends on who your bank is. But a lot of times they're looking at more so the banks that can do the six figures, or at least the $300,000 range, if not more. Also depends on what type of business you have, because if you have a restaurant, those are typically harder to fund than some other businesses. But there aren't a lot of banks that are really crazy about doing the micro lending, which is less than $50,000.
Right.
So you got to get creative about how it is that you're going to get this money. So I love the fact that we do have these resources like the Kickstarters and Indiegogo, or going to places that do kind of specialize in micro lending as well.
Okay. Black Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there would be another Black Wall Street, and what would that look like?
I see a kind of resurgence in that respect. Actually, a good friend of mine from where I'm from Connecticut, and he was doing a lot of stuff with Black Wall Street where he was there. But I know he just, him and his family just relocated to Maryland, but he's still trying to keep it going. I saw that they were doing like a virtual version of it. So I see kind of that renaissance. We exist. Obviously, we have this platform here, where we're talking about Black entrepreneurship and making spaces for those conversations. And I think we have amazing ideas. I think we have the potential to really do some damage in the entrepreneurial space. So I'm excited about what the possibilities are in this space.
Yep, no doubt. You work solo, independently, or do you have a team?
I'm a solopreneur.
Okay, gotcha. I'm probably going to do a podcast about solopreneurs. Might be a good idea.
So I contract with others as needed. Okay. But I'm a solopreneur. So for instance, for this virtual strategic planning project, I am contracting to somebody that I know is amazing in business finance kind of stuff. Having that person look at the nonprofits financial documents and give me a report and an assessment. I'm like, hey, that's not my area of expertise, but I know whose it is. And so I bring that person in.
Gotcha. Would you consider yourself to be the micromanaging type, or do you just let whoever you're hiring, or if you had a team, either one, you consider yourself micromanager, or do you just tell what you need done and you let them be free on how they get it done?
Yeah, I am not a micromanager. First of all, I hate to be micromanaged, and I'm not going to do it to anybody else. And if I got to micromanage you, what is the point of bringing you on? If I brought you on, I hope I can have faith that you can do the job. So here you go. Do what you will.
Oh, man. Okay. When it comes to entrepreneurship, how important is money management?
Oh my gosh, that's so key. I can't tell you how many times when I was working with entrepreneurs before, how many times when I was in my last job, I worked with people that were in growth stage. So they were in business at least 2 years, if not longer, and they were looking to grow. But oftentimes, a lot of those people wouldn't come into me because they were just busy in their businesses. They usually didn't come until something was wrong. And by that time, it was often too late for us to do anything with. But it usually money problems, just not paying attention to what was going on, not paying attention to the financial statements, not looking at the income statement and seeing, just even miscategorizing information on their income statements. We would review the information like, okay, well, why is this here? That's not even a part of your cost of goods sold. So why would you put that there? And they just didn't know. And oftentimes it gets so overwhelming. Sometimes people just stick their heads in the sand like ostriches and just, act like nothing's happening. But it does make a difference because it really makes or breaks whether or not you're able to stay in business or not. So.
Okay. And another part of that question, would you seriously consider telling clients who want to be entrepreneurs, or people in general who want to be entrepreneurs, would you consider telling them to get a separate account for business on the start of it, or maybe start off on a personal and then switch over? How would you approach that with somebody?
I wish somebody would have this conversation with me from the beginning. I think you should separate the two from the jump.
Okay.
So that there is no confusion as to what is being used for what, no commingling of funds. Okay. Because it could come back to bite you in the butt in some way, shape, or form. But being very clear about what your personal funds are and being very clear about what your business funds are. And it just helps you in just trying to make sense of it when it comes time for taxes and, doing your taxes and all that. You don't have to worry about trying to figure out, well, this was for this and going through. You'll know.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. What's more important to you, marketing and sales, or promotion and branding, or a combination of those?
I would have to say, I think it's a combination. First and foremost, again, if you don't build a relationship with your ideal clients, you're not going to have any marketing. Your marketing is not going to matter. You're not going to have any sales because people only buy from those they know, like, and trust. So you have to establish your brand, and you have to establish yourself as a trusted source in some way, shape, or form. And once you establish yourself in that space as a trusted person or a trusted organization or a trusted company, then I think that's where, marketing, of course, does come into play. And then those sales are going to happen.
Okay. I'm a person that kind of deals with words.
Okay.
And I believe they're powerful. They can kind of, when you say certain things, they give meaning to certain people. When I use the word market or marketing, what does that mean to you?
I think it's just getting your product or service in front of the right people, not just any and everybody, but the right people, your ideal people, the people when they come to your website or they see something from you, they know definitively, like, yes, that is for me, or no, it's not for me, which is cool. Yeah, they'll know up front. But marketing is about being very clear in your messaging.
Okay. I tend to think, I guess you kind of said some of it, because to me, when I say market or I hear market, I always think people. But you said it has to be certain type of people. So
absolutely.
Depending on, and then promotion is more or less kind of putting the word out, like, hey, we here. Yeah, gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay. What is your outlook on the economy in regards to Black entrepreneurship?
Oh, we have a lot going on in terms of COVID, but I do think that this has presented a unique opportunity for people to really kind of do some exploration in this whole gig economy and be creative about what that looks like for them. Really explore opportunities online or freelancing or independent contracting opportunities. So I think that there's potential because, again, this is an opportunity that some people may not have otherwise had because they just didn't have the time to dedicate to it, or they just didn't have the time to really look into it. And now a lot of us are home. Some people are unemployed at this point in time. So it's a good time to explore. It's a good time to see what opportunities might be available to you to kind of dip your toe into entrepreneurship. So I am optimistic. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Gotcha. Yeah, I kind of, when this stuff started happening, I was thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? This could possibly be a situation where it kind of evens the playing field with with big companies.
Exactly.
Certain ways.
I definitely agree because it shows you that there are possibilities beyond just the big guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if people are willing to, just do a little research and explore some options, they can really take advantage of that.
Gotcha. How do you plan on growing your business?
Oh, well, definitely using the podcast platform again, to establish that know, like, and trust factor so people get to know who I am as a person, but also get to know me in my professional endeavors and the things that I hope to do. And so that's one place I really want to build a space in having conversations with people and growing community. I have a Facebook group for it too. It's the All Things Unlearned, the community. But again, having a space where people come to talk about unlearning. And so I'm hoping to do, those webinars. I'm hoping to do Facebook Lives and have these conversations. I'm hoping to really, because my business is a service-based business. Right. So if people don't get what it is that you're trying to do, they're not trying to buy your service. So I'm trying to really educate along the way and connect with people. That is really and truly the focus right now in growing my business and just connecting with people.
Okay. When you said educate, this is the question I have written down. It somewhat goes with that.
Okay.
If someone were to invite you to be a guest speaker of an event or seminar, anything like that, do you have any criteria that you would use to determine if you would even go? So let me give you kind of a example or a backdrop of it. So for instance, like even with the like inviting you to a podcast, if someone to invite you or invite me, I would kind of think on, okay, what would be the reason for me to actually go do this? Would it
make sense?
Would I use, like with me, I have a couple of things. I'm trying to come up with 3 things, but the two of them will be, if I can promote myself a little bit, maybe I'll do that. If I'm able to educate some people also, that's another part. I haven't figured out what my third part would be yet. So do you, have you even thought about that? And if you did, or if you haven't?
Absolutely, because there's so many opportunities for you to get in front of people, but just because the opportunity presents itself doesn't mean that you should do it. That sometimes you do need to say no. So I think about, the event itself, is this in line with what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Think about the people that'll be there. Are these people that could potentially be clients?
Yep.
But I also think about really and ultimately, do I really want to do this? Because I want to be strategic about my yeses and strategic about my nos. I have been a person in the past that's like, yes, I'll do that. And no rhyme or reason, just get in front of people. And it served no purpose to me. Just because I could. And that's the thing. Just because you can doesn't mean you always should.
Yeah.
So I really think about, again, the event itself, the people who will be there. Also, I forgot to mention, will my message actually resonate with them? Because just because I think they should hear it doesn't mean that they will want to. And then do I really want to do it?
Gotcha. Another part of that, I was thinking also, you might have mentioned it in there, is what type of person or a group that you're going to be putting yourself into. Like, what's their track record or their record? If they have a bad record or bad reputation, did you go on and join them?
and no. if you have a shady reputation, I'm good.
I hear you. Oh man. How many hours a day do you spend on your business?
It varies for sure. And I try to make sure that now with the kids home, I'm probably working between 10 and 5-ish, not straight. Again, there's broken up stuff in there. Like I said, I also teach, so I have to get on and interact with my students. And then, with my kids home, I got to make time for them and, get them out the house and at least go outside, take a walk, get some vitamin D, something. But I try not to let it go into the night. I try, it doesn't always happen. Try to have a cap. So once that, I'm done and I don't have to keep thinking about it, although you always still do keep thinking about it because that's just how entrepreneurs are. But so that we can eat and so we can maybe enjoy, Netflix and chill, something, just have time to yourself because you need that time to yourself too, that downtime.
Yeah.
And hopefully get some good sleep too. So
most definitely. I recently looked at Jeff Bezos' documentary. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh, no, I haven't.
And I don't know how many of them are out there. Just one I happened to come across. I think it's called Amazon Empire, and or something along those lines. But in part of the documentary, it was mentioned that he often tested things out, tested out different strategies, tested out different technologies. Have you done any of that yourself? Like thought about some strategies you might need to test out, or some technologies, apps, or anything like that? You thought, let me try this out in order to become more productive in your business.
I definitely need to. One thing I need to do that I need to get back to doing is waking up much earlier than I do. At one point in time, I was waking up probably 5-ish in the morning, and it was so helpful, particularly just because I'm a person, I need quiet to work. And with 3 kids at home, it ain't quiet. Even when I come here in my office, I still hear them out there. But that's a good time for me to just have time to be, read, pray, whatever the case is. Also, I need to get up and work out more consistently than I have. This COVID thing has done nothing for my exercising or eating habits. They've gotten horrible during this time. But again, I have full control over that. I need to make it happen. So that's one strategy. Just waking up early for me, because I'm not a night owl. I'm not productive at night. So if I could just push it back a little bit, because I'll get up maybe 7-ish, 8-ish now, but that's still time wasted before they get up that I could have already done some things and have been really productive before they even get up.
Okay, gotcha. A couple of more questions.
Sure.
What advice would you give to those wanting to be entrepreneurs?
I would definitely suggest you talk to some people that are entrepreneurs, just to get the good, the bad, the ugly about entrepreneurship. Not to say that your journey is going to be the same as theirs, because everybody has a very, very, very different journey, and not to necessarily dissuade you from what it is that you want to do, but talk to them and just get a feel for what their experience has been. What are some great things that have happened to them, but what are some horribly bad things? Because there is a dark side to entrepreneurship. As I mentioned earlier in our conversation, people just think about the fact that, they think about this idea of flexibility. And though I mentioned flexibility, you will work harder in your own business than you probably would if you do have a 9-to-5 job. So you're always on. And so these are things to consider before you jump in. But also really think about, is this what you really want to do? Sounds good in theory, but is there a different way you can do the same thing that you're thinking about, but just not go into business for yourself doing it? Again, I'm not trying to dissuade anybody, but just really think about this before jumping into it, because it's a commitment.
All right. And lastly, those who are already in the entrepreneur realm, they're trying to do their thing already, but they're struggling. What advice would you give to them, to the struggling ones?
Ask for help. Ask for help as soon as you know you need it. Don't wait until it's too late. I think a lot of times we get into this place and space where there's some shame sometimes a bit related to it. Like, the thought that you can't get this thing going. Also, you may feel like nobody else might understand. And if you're just looking at your friends and family, they may not understand because they may not be entrepreneurs. But find your people, find your community, go on meetup.com and see what the entrepreneurial gatherings that are around you. Look at your Chamber of Commerce and see what type of events that they're having. As a military spouse, whenever we are moving somewhere, first thing I do is get online and see what kind of entrepreneurial community they have, so I could start meeting other people in this space. And also utilize those resources I mentioned before, the Small Business Development Center, Women's Business Center, Veterans Business Outreach Center, SCORE. These are all free resources Don't be afraid to ask for help. And sometimes you have to also acknowledge when it's time to shut down the business. There's nothing bad about that. It happens all the time.
Right.
Having a conversation with the right people about what that looks like, if that's the direction you're going in, there's no shame associated with it. But some people think about the sunken cost fallacy, this whole idea of you've put so much time and effort and money into it, I can't just let it go. But what is it costing you in keeping this thing going that probably shouldn't be going anymore?
Right. Let me see here. How would they know if it's time to?
Sometimes you're too close to it to see it. But also looking up, again, this is where knowing your numbers is key. But looking at what you have going on, looking at the numbers of customers you have, looking at your profit, your revenue, your expenses, just seeing patterns over time as to, whether you're constantly in the red or is it just a blip on the radar, just knowing your numbers. Also looking at, so you just have a plain sheet of paper, you have 12 blocks on it, just write January through December on it. Knowing when your ebbs and flow in business are. So if you're a seasonal business, you could be a business that thrives in the summer. So those summer months, you're going to be killing it. But what are you doing during the rest of the year in those months where it may not necessarily be high hitting numbers for you? What are the products and services that you can offer as an alternative to kind of keep you going during those times? Keep you afloat. But just paying attention to the numbers. If you aren't good at the numbers, again, that's not my area of expertise, but hire a bookkeeper in addition to your CPA. Have both of those people. I have a virtual bookkeeper that I've worked with for the past few years. We've never met in person at all. And this is the person that, she has access to my QuickBooks. When I need her, you could have somebody go in there quarterly and just just go and clean up stuff for you, and you can have a conversation about it. Make sure you utilize your resources if you know you aren't good at the numbers, or see if your local resources might have people that are volunteering as a public accountant, just to give you some direction. At my old job, we had people that volunteered as a CPA. We had HR consultants that would volunteer, just people that would give you an hour of their time just to kind of give you some direction. So,
yeah, that was one of my questions. I don't think I asked you that. Was did you ever use the services of an accountant and lawyers at all?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I have used CPA, obviously. I have a virtual bookkeeper. I got my business name trademarked about 4 years ago. So I have somebody for that. But I also, there's a person called the Legalpreneur. She has a membership kind of thing. You pay, I think, $1,800 for the year. And she's kind of on call. So you get a certain amount of services per month for $1,800 for the year. So I utilize that because I don't need an expensive attorney. I can't afford an expensive attorney, but just to be able to have somebody. So if I have a contract, I can send it her way and she will review it.
Okay. How easy is trademarking?
It's a simple process, but it's a lengthy process. It was about 8 months in total for that process to happen when I did it a few years ago. And again, the attorney did it. I didn't do it on my own. I said, you know what? Not my area of expertise.
Let them handle it.
It was about 8 months.
Okay. All right. Well, Cachet, is that correct?
Cachet.
I'm sorry about that. Cachet Prescott. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show. And everybody make sure. Yeah, no problem. Everybody check out CachetPrescott.com. And check out the podcast, All Things Unlearned. You say you just started?
Just yesterday.
Okay. You did it on your own? You had a guest or what?
So I have guests, but my intro episode was just me introducing it, but I do have my guest episode from yesterday as well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. This is done. I appreciate it again. We're gonna have to. Oh, let me see something real quick. I think somebody left a comment here. Let's check it out. Oh, somebody was trying to be funny there. Put a Fiverr. Their Fiverr website. Gonna leave that alone right there. Gonna leave that. Anyway, I appreciate it again. Thanks for coming on, and we done, man. Let's get on out of here. I'm gonna be contacting you within the week or so because I got something I want to do, and I'm gonna be getting in contact with you.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, you're very welcome. Very welcome. Everybody, we out. Peace.
Yeah.